Welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. I'm Joey Calvo. Today, I'm going to share some good news with you. As you know, that bear with me here. Okay. Our podcast is part of the World Podcast Network, now with over 1,100 podcasts. Visit the World Podcast Network at https://worldpodcast.network to listen to podcasts in over 12 genres. Come vote our podcast episodes up and help us ride to the leaderboard. If you have a podcast of your own, please, you can join for free. So I started to say before I got to this, we have been on the World Podcast Network now for about a month. And we've gotten a lot of page views, so I thank you for that. Well, yesterday I got an email. I get mentioned again. Well, today I'm going to share why I got mentioned. So bear with me because the audio or some of it is going to be, it's not going to be the exact way, but just bear with me one moment.
Hello, podcasters. How do we change the world? One successful podcast at a time. You're listening to Become a Successful Podcaster with host Bruce Chamoff. Rate him on Apple Podcasts.
You have a podcast? Now it's time to grow it. Build your audience, monetize, and more. It's all about becoming a successful podcaster. Now here's your host, Bruce Chamoff.
Welcome to Become a Successful Podcaster with Bruce Chamoff and
Shari Post.
There she is, my lovely co-host. How you doing, Shari?
I'm good. How about you, Bruce?
I am doing fantastic. We just had an amazing breakfast. My podcasters want to hear about that. No?
Yeah, just like everybody likes to read about food on Facebook.
Before I get into this week's episode, I just want to tell you that May 9th, that's a Thursday, I'm having a webinar on how to monetize your podcast in 10 different ways. So today is a special episode. We are highlighting the 20 most active podcasters on the World Podcast Network. And then we're going to read a special podcast fortune cookie, and we're going to take the message and we're going to assign it to each well, we already assigned it to the podcasters. Now we're going to read the assigned podcasts and the fortune cookie, and we're going to put them together.
Sounds great, Bruce.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So you can't get this in the Chinese restaurant. Don't even try. These are special fortune cookies. They're made just for podcasters, and they don't come with their own microphone.
And they don't say, help, I'm trapped in a fortune cookie factory.
They don't say that either. But they might say, help, I'm trapped in a special podcast microphone. All right, now, we got 20 podcasters that have amazing podcasts, first of all. And they're very active on the World Podcast Network. And they're just very supportive of everything we do. Some of them have become really good friends. You know who some of them are.
Yes.
We won't reveal them until we reveal them. Now, I want to ask each one of you who are listening, if we call your name early, you have to promise me that you're going to stay to the very end, because you might just be introduced to a few podcasters that you never knew existed. So this is an episode for all of us. Now, the order that we're going to say all of these podcasters is random. We do have a special random hat with all the fortune cookies. And then we're going to read the podcaster and the show, and we're going to talk about that podcaster, and then we're going to read the fortune cookie. Or maybe we should wait to the end, Shari. Read the fortune cookies at the end. Let's do that. You know what? We'll read the special fortune cookie messages for each podcaster at the end. Okay? Now, the order here, no particular order. We're just random. So if I call you first, if I call you last, it's all the same. And you ready to start with this one?
Absolutely.
All right. So let's look at the randomizer, and that will give us the first one, Antoinette Blake from Delaware, blogger. You know Antoinette, and she was a speaker at Podno 2024.
Yes, an absolutely amazing speaker.
Yes, she had a great presentation, and actually, she's one of the few that also spoke at Podno 2021.
That was before my time.
That was before, yes, but now you're caught up. And she's from New York, she's in Delaware, hence the Delaware blogger. She has special advice for people in podcasting. And I've been friends with her now for a couple of years, and she's really a dynamite person and a great podcaster. So all of you who are listening, if you want to get ahead in podcasting, you definitely want to check out Delaware Blogger. Now, keep in mind, I don't know particularly everything about the podcast. I do listen to everybody as much as I can. I've spoken to some of these people, and I've been on your interviews. I've been interviewed on your podcast as well, not all of them, but are you ready for the next one?
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to move on to the second one. And the second one is Melinda Rodhouse from SimCreate. It's all in the name. She interviews people who are creative. We're talking about musicians, all types of people who are just creative. That's what the entire podcast is about. And I am going to be on her podcast tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Can't wait for that.
Yep, can't wait for that.
Yes, and she's very active. She's also part of the new video promo for the podcast network. So thank you, Melinda, for that one.
And she's also part of the guest exchange.
And she's part of the guest exchange. So if you guys are looking for a guest, she's one of them. She's one of the 100 we got. Okay. And again, we'll save the fortune cookies to the end. All right. Joey Calvo. He's from Philadelphia. I happen to know that.
Well, everyone good is from Pennsylvania, including me.
Ah. And Joey, I know he's from Philadelphia because he has a Philadelphia Eagles shirt. He interviewed me on his podcast with a Philadelphia Eagles shirt.
That just means he roots for the Philadelphia Eagles. He doesn't have to live in Philadelphia.
But he still lives in Philadelphia. As a matter of fact, he lives about 2 miles from where we were in Center City
Oh, cool.
when we went to the Philadelphia Zoo.
We could have run into him in the street.
We could have, but at that time I didn't know what he looked like.
True.
But he's a great podcaster. And he's very, very supportive. He's very dynamic. He does the videos, the audios, audio podcast. I think everybody does just about. So everyone's really a great, great video podcaster. And Joey is an amazing podcaster himself, both audio and video. Check it out, everybody. Life with Joey Calvo. Number 4.
Okay. Bruce is going to be watching this podcast when we're done. I am not a Philadelphia Eagles fan. The only reason why I had a Philadelphia Eagles shirt on was because, ex-wife was a Philadelphia Eagle fan. And I kind of got that shirt while I was married. And I actually had to throw it out because it got holes in it. So that was the last time you saw the Philadelphia Eagles shirt. But I am not a Philadelphia Eagles fan at all. I am a 49er fan. I just don't have a lot of 49ers gear on me. So I want to clarify that. Now, to get to the and I'm very grateful for everything Bruce has said on the World Podcast Network. Like I said, ever since we've been on there for about a month, we have gotten 2 votes. We are number 478 out of 1,100 podcasts in the rankings, and we are one of the top 20 active, as you heard Bruce say. But now I'm going to let you listen to the fortune cookie that he read for us. So just bear with me one moment. So trying to get close to. Actually, I'm going to have you listen to a couple fortune cookies for other podcasters before we get to ours.
Advisory board. Here's your fortune. Every download is a vote of confidence in your content. Very cool. Jeff Dwoskin, Classic Conversations Podcast. Your voice has the potential to spark change. Let it resonate. Eric Lee, This Is How We See It. Here's your fortune. Like a fine wine, your podcast improves with time and patience. I wonder what my fortune would be. Rena Freeman Watts, Better Call Daddy. Here's your fortune. Consistency is the key that unlocks the door to podcast success. Next, Fierce Manson of the Fierce Female Network. In the silence between words lies the power of your message. I like that one too. Mikkel and Tankia, Next Take Podcast. Here's your fortune. Expand your horizons, explore new topics, and watch your audience grow. David Ricklin from Self Growth. Your podcast journey may have bumps, but each one is a lesson in resilience. Interesting. You got a dog in the back. That's funny. Maybe the dog should come on the podcast. Anyway, Mick Hunt. The podcast is Mick Unplug, and here is your fortune. The mic is mightier than the sword. Wield it wisely. That's a good one. Colleen Thomas from the Shane Pinata podcast. Your podcast is a canvas. Paint it with diverse voices and perspectives. I like that one too. Mike Fox from Veteran Rockers. In every episode, find the harmony between information and entertainment. Joey Calvo from Life with Joey Calvo. Your listeners are your greatest treasure. Cherish their loyalty. That's a really powerful statement. Wow, that's a powerful fortune. And we got two more. Melinda Rodhouse.
All right. Cherish your listeners. I do. Except I don't, you don't hear a lot about it, but as of right now, before this podcast was done, we have 2,933 plays since 2019. We're getting up to 3,000. We're actually on, believe it or not, this is the 125th episode of the podcast on anchor.fm/Life with Joey Calvo. I am truly grateful. And yes, I should cherish the listeners and everything, and I do. And I thank you for being a big part of it. And I really hope that you can really support this podcast. I actually have a merchandise website. It's shop.spreadshirt.com/life-with-Joey-Calvo. So definitely go there and buy t-shirts, mouse pads, stickers, lots of different things. So I've been saying that this podcast is possibly ending in May. At the end of May, it could be possibly over. We don't know yet. I am doing what I can to extend it past May. I did get another guest in. So on Monday, the 29th, we're supposed to have Andrea Pudding at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Next Saturday, not this Saturday, next Saturday, May the 4th, I will have Angelo Christian on the podcast on a special day. That's at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. May the 7th, we will have Mark Stephen Puro, who wrote a book, A Cup of Tea from the Commode. And we're going to chat about his story and how that came to be. May 16th is the newest one. She is from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and she goes by the name SD herself. She will be on the podcast on May the 16th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. She has a very beautiful singing voice. So if you get a chance, check her out on... I actually came across her on Threads and then checked out the Instagram. But it's at SD herself. She will be on the podcast, like I said, May 16th at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. And then to finalize the month is the reschedule of the podcast from last week with M. Kyle Hollingsworth, who hosts a podcast herself called Courageous AF. So we will get into that. So I've been getting a lot of backlash still about what's been going on, about the constructive criticism. And yes, I'm losing friends left and right, but you know what? It's not bothering me. And when this podcast ends, the only thing that's going to be left for anybody to really hear is going to be the anchor.fm/life with Joey Calvo. That will always be there. Podpage.com. And just search Life with Joey Calvo there. You'll see both the audio and the YouTube videos. Excuse me. I had a fun night, so I'm a little tired still. And then the YouTube channel itself, Life with Joey Calvo YouTube channel, will always be around. So you'll be able to catch all the videos of all the past podcasts we've done. Now, what Bruce did not mention, what Bruce did not know, I think I mentioned to him on when we did the podcast a couple weeks ago, is I'm actually friends with some celebrities. Okay. So model Carol Alt, she's a great friend. She is a supermodel. Well, she don't like to be considered a supermodel, even though she is. She's also an actress, and you can also go to carolalt.com for healthy recipes, etc. We chat once in a while, Bruce, just to let you know. Carol Alt and I do chat once in a while. Another great celebrity, which some would not consider a celebrity, is Kimberly Bukovich. Kimberly, I'm sorry. Ever since you got married, her former name was Kimberly Kravitz. She has been on the podcast. She is a News 12 New Jersey reporter. She is a great supporter. She was a great supporter of this podcast. Still is. We've been good friends now for a couple of years now, and well, you know, she's, like I said, we've had her on the podcast. I've had her on the podcast before, so she's a great support. Matter of fact, she posted on X, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it anymore, It was her, Heather Fordham, and Jennifer Marin. And I turned around and I said to her, I said, listen, I got to get all three of these back together on the podcast to chat about, when you work together at they worked together for a little bit on another news network, a little news network that kind of fizzled. But Kimberly is on News 12 New Jersey in New York. Heather Fordham, like I mentioned, she is on News 12 the Bronx, I believe. But she's in New York. And Jennifer Marin is doing something else. But the three of them together, I was like, I want to get you three all together on a podcast together and just, chat, like you said, chat about, your careers and everything. So hopefully that's going to happen. And I'm reaching out to other people and, still trying to get big name people, quote unquote. We are working on that. If I run out of opportunities by May 31st, then this podcast ends and goes out into the limelight. Could be temporarily, could be for good. If it does go out for good, May 31st, like I said, you'll still be able to catch the older podcast here on YouTube, as well as anchor.fm/live with Joey Calvo, and on the podpage.com website. I really still want to continue this podcast, to be honest with you. Everybody's, like I said, backlashing me because, I keep saying this is therapy. Well, the therapy is turning all constructive, and it's getting on my case a little bit. Like I said earlier, I'm losing friends for it. And I'm sacrificing that because I don't want to hear it. I'm getting tired of people telling me how to run my life when I want to run my life. I want to, everybody says, oh, we're just suggestion. If you're saying do this, you're not suggesting. Clarify words. It all comes back to words, folks. It all comes back to words. It's how you state it is how the person will take it. Okay? If you say to me, may I suggest this? Okay, then I won't get on your case. But if you say do, as soon as you say the word do, it's not a suggestion. You're telling me what to do. Okay? So I want to clarify that. I want to get it into everybody's little thick skull. Okay? Even I have to watch what I say. Okay? If you say the word do in any shape or form, you are not suggesting. You are telling. Okay? You are telling and not suggesting when you use the word do. Use the words, may I suggest this? And then say what it is. Then you don't get the backlash from me. You don't get the block. You don't get the negativity out of it. Okay? And yes, I did yawn because I was supposed to go to a show yesterday called Bet, Babs, and Beyond at the Tropicana in Atlantic City. I got home from work and I was so tired. I literally I ate and crashed. And I was supposed to leave like 11 o'clock in the morning to go get the show at 3 o'clock. And I said, I'm not going to go. I mean, I sacrificed 2 tickets. Like, I was like, who's going to go with me anyway? So I sacrificed the tickets. And I said, you know what? I'll go down that night. So I went down late last night. I'm giving away my theories only because it's how I do it. So when I go to a casino, I try to go before noontime, because normally around noontime is when it starts to crowd up, and that's when you don't get your machines that you want. So I went down at 12:30 in the morning. I was there about 20 minutes to 1 in the morning, and did what I wanted to do. Well, I really thought I was going to catch the first train out, and I had a little too much fun, to the point where I actually watched the sunrise over the ocean. I got a little depressed from it because you always, when you watch the sunrise or watch the sunsets and stuff, you always want to have someone special with you. Now, of course, I'm by myself, and no, I don't consider myself special by myself. But it was just that seeing it just reminded me of a lot of things, and like I said, it did depress me. I mean, there was a fire down there last week, late last week, on the boardwalk, and I only got to see you're walking by in the dark, so you couldn't see the damage. I mean, the only damage I only saw was the doors to the arcade, because they had it boarded up, but I didn't see you couldn't see the full damage. And I'm glad. Unfortunately, it was set by a homeless guy, and he wound up dying from the fire. So, but when you walk down the boardwalk during the night, and I'm not knocking down Mayor Marty Smalls of Atlantic City. He is doing the best possible job he can. But it's just crazy. You turn around and you see so many homeless people on the boardwalk. So now, instead of being under the boardwalk, now well, it was a little breezy when I went down this morning. So they were laying on the sides of the by the storefronts along the boardwalk. They were laying in front of them to block, the wind, the breeze from getting to them. I know Atlantic City is doing the best they can to eradicate the problem, but you always say they need more. Yes, they do. Philadelphia needs much more than that, because here's a quick story I'm going to give off of this as I'm going. Sunday morning, I came home from work, and I took a bus to another part of the city. And I had a little bit of time before this bus was going to bring me closer to home. So I turned around, I walked into the supermarket that's in University City. a homeless guy comes up and a panhandler comes up and asks me to buy him something. You know how quickly I said no. Matter of fact, just as they start to ask, I start saying no, and it kills me because every time you're turning around, doesn't matter where you're at, you're being asked. Yeah, if you have a great heart, you really want to help. I mean, once in a while it's fine, but when you're constantly, and it doesn't matter if you're in Philadelphia, Camden, Atlantic City, New York, Boston. I don't know if there's much homeless in Boston. I've never fully been in Boston. Rode by it, but never been in Boston. But no matter what, the constant asking of people for money or food or something. Right now, I can't do anything because I'm trying to catch up on me. So I'm going to say no right away, only because of that reasoning. I mean, if I was a multi-millionaire or I had money to spare, fine. But it's constant. It's not, there's not one day. All right, maybe there's been a couple. But there's not one day I can't get around someone asking me for something. Even if they're asking me to use my phone to make a phone call because their battery is dead. Well, ain't my fault. Your phone's battery is dead. Plan better. And that's my honest opinion on that. Okay, even if my phone's dead, I'm not going to ask anybody to use their phone because I normally don't have an emergency of any kind. Okay, I will figure a way of getting there before I ask someone. Same thing when I was living in a homeless shelter back in 2012. Actually, no, 2000. No, first time I stayed in a homeless shelter was 2009 or 2010. Sorry, for a little bit, and then I stayed in for another month as I was moving within where I'm at now. I spent a month in another homeless shelter, same homeless shelter. But I never during any of that time panhandled. Never asked anybody for anything because I knew what was going on. I did. I knew what was going on. Okay. And I turned around, and once I got established, okay, once I got myself a little bit established, I actually got out of the homeless system and had a place to stay. I had an awesome place to stay back then, matter of fact, the first time. And, wind up having cats and everything. I was so happy back then. If you hear noise in the background, the Philadelphia Water Department's right outside the window here, and they're working on the street here, so you're gonna hear that. So I apologize for that as well. Yeah, I know I should shut the window, but it's nice out. It's like in the 60s here in Philadelphia. So, but yeah. I never panhandled. I never asked anybody for anything. Okay? I mean, unless you're on a line for food, then yeah, when they ask you, do you want this? When you're offered that, it's a different story. But I never panhandled. I mean, I could sit on a corner and just sit there. I didn't need, like I said, I didn't need to ask for anything because I eventually would figure out how I would manage it, how I get it. So, but it gets to my case though when you're constantly asked left and right. I mean, they think you're a multimillionaire when they ask you. And I literally start saying that the gravy train ran out. And to me, it did. You know, if people, like I said, when I was homeless, I actually thought of a way of getting the help I needed to get back on my feet. Yeah, I sold papers on the street in 2010. And I was it was very good. It got me an apartment. I was paying for an apartment every week. And I got myself back on my feet. And like I said, I did it without panhandling. I literally did it without panhandling. I didn't have a little sign on me saying homeless, blah, blah, blah. You know, all little things help. I didn't want to do that because I knew what they were going to face. So that's why I didn't do it. And I won't do it. If I run short, then I have to plan how I'm going to get where I'm going to go. I mean, panhandling is like the last resort to me. So, I think I've gone on a little bit about it. So, I'll go over the guest list one more time between now and the end of May. We're going to see if this podcast goes into June. All we can do is pray about that. So, Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Andrea Pudding. Saturday, May 4th, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Angela Christian, and we're talking real estate. May the 7th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Mark Stephen Poro. May the 16th, we have SD herself from Kuala Lumpur. That's at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And then at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, May 30th, we will have M. Kyle Hollingsworth. So, in closing, when you are in conversation, keep in mind the words you use. Okay? I cannot stress it enough. I cannot deal with it enough to state this. Okay? Soon as you say the words "do this," is not a do this. The words "do this" is not a suggestion, folks. You're telling them what to do. May I suggest this is a suggestion, and you don't get the backlash for it. So, the next time we will be on, hopefully will be Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with Andrea Pudding. Pudding, and it's putting, really. And I apologize. So, thank you so much to the World Podcast Network for being on the their first top 20 list of active podcasters and the fortune cookie. I thank you for that. I thank you for allowing us to be on the network. I wish I could see actually how many page views we get, but this is why I had asked for support so we can get this and be able to go on get their guest lists and stuff. Because there's guests I wanted, like I said, that were $150. And I don't have $150 to pay for have a guest like that. All right. we're going to extend this out a little bit. So, and when Bruce and I talked on the podcast, I explained to him where I go, and it was so ironic. Speaking of Bruce, I get an email twice a week from this one website called podcastguest.com. And on the list of those to be booked was Bruce Chamoff. He got on the email to be guests on other podcasts. And I was like, oh, I almost wanted to do it again just for fun. But Bruce and I have got to be friends. Hence, he gives me the emails when he's mentioning this podcast. So that's how I get the heads up. So I'm truly thankful to the World Podcast Network. I really am. Like I said, we had over 1,200 page views, but unfortunately, you have to upgrade to see how many page views you get now. And the monetization, I played, of course, part of his podcast. I want to know how the heck he got Morgan Freeman to do his intro. How much did it cost you, Bruce, to get Morgan Freeman to do your intro? Or if that is even Morgan Freeman. To me, it sounded like Morgan Freeman. I wish I could get somebody like that. I would. I mean, if there was a way I could have Carol Alt record an intro to this podcast, I could be so thankful. I could go to Eric Essex. He's a smooth jazz guitarist. We are great friends. I was going to go to him for something else that I was thinking about some time ago. But I would love, if he was listening to this podcast right now, I would have asked him if he would have done a song, like a jingle for this podcast. You know, something that would entice all of you to listen to it. And Eric Essex has got great music. Oh my God. He just released a single with the Southern Gentleman. It's on the bottom of the screen. If you're on the Anchor.fm, you have to go to the YouTube channel to understand what I'm talking about. But and I also mentioned on the bottom about the World Podcast Network, so it's on there as well. But in reference to Eric has got great music, and he's been on the podcast twice. And the new single with the Southern Gentleman is actually a remake of Could It Be I'm Falling in Love, originally done by the Spinners, who ironically will be in Atlantic City soon. And it actually came out on the 19th. So I gotta put that in my Spotify. But you gotta go to ericessex.net to get all his music. When we first chatted, if you at the time we didn't have the YouTube channel on it, so we did it by phone. So it's on the anchor.fm/life with Joey Calvo. Go back about 3 years. He actually sent me an autographed copy of the last CD 2 CDs ago called Songs from the Deep. And I treasure it very well. I mean, I didn't take off the wrapper to it. And like I said, him and I became great friends. And anytime he's got new music out, I always tell him, hey, let me know so I can put it out for you. So you gotta listen to that. You gotta listen to that version. He actually did a version of Ain't No Sunshine with Ruben Studdard from American Idol. And the last podcast we did last year, between 22, 23, we did it. We talked about how him and Ruben Studdard came into being. So you gotta, and that one is on the YouTube channel. So you gotta catch that one, because that one is really good. I had Gregory Jabara from the CBS hit drama Blue Bloods in its final season. When we did the podcast 4 years ago is when William Shatner went to space. And we talked about that. And the extension of the podcast actually went into the YouTube. So you got to go to the YouTube, the Life with Joey Calvo YouTube channel to see, you guys, all the great podcasts are on there. And I haven't had a chance to talk to him because he's busy shooting. And at the time I wanted to have him on to promote the last season of Blue Bloods, he's been busy. So, and I believe he's in the movie Oppenheimer as well. That just got rave reviews and Academy Awards and so on. But I'm always thankful for everybody that's been on this podcast. Always. I always tell them, whenever you want to come back on, let me know. Sepsis. Great band. I followed them when I first met them through a former friend. With that one, but that one is the upsetting one because we barely talk anymore. But sepsis.com. If you love heavy metal, you gotta listen to their music. I've been wanting to get them back on again to promote their tours, but I was told that they do not do them anymore. And I can understand why. You know, they go through enough as it is. But I will always say, support Sepsis. Go to their concerts. Listen to their music. Go to sepsis.com. Buy their albums. Buy their CDs. I mean, they literally produce great music. Literally produce great music. Eric Essex, like it says, another one. EricEssex.net. Awesome music. I mean, his latest single, My Heartbeat, I've played it ever since it came out. I play it at least twice a day. I've played it on this podcast too. But it gets blocked out because it's copyrighted. So if you don't hear it, go to ericessex.net and purchase the new CD, My Heartbeat. I am running out of stuff to say. But as I'm running out of stuff to say for right now, again, I am truly thankful to you, the viewers on the YouTube channel, the listeners on the anchor.fm/Life with Joey Calvo. I thank you for where we're at right now. You know, sometimes you say you want to go out with a bang. You know, We ain't go. If we're going, we're not going out on the bank. We're going out on a big explosion. Because, like I said, we're close to 3,000 plays, and it took 5 years. So all I could do is be thankful to all of you. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. You gotta subscribe to the YouTube channel, folks, because that's how you and click on the notifications. Because when I tell you about these times that, like Monday with Andrea Putting, okay, we do a live stream on YouTube. Okay, come on the live stream because you can ask questions to the guests right there and then that they can answer. Okay. And if you see some of the podcasts, you do see viewers' questions pop up. I mean, with sepsis, we had, oh God, sepsis was the biggest crowd. I could not. I was blown away, and that's why I say I would love to have sepsis back on, because their followers, they'll come on the YouTube channel and they will question and throw great comments at them. And it was just so amazing. But you definitely gotta subscribe to the YouTube channel. To the Life with Joey Calvo YouTube channel. You gotta subscribe to it, folks. Only because of, and click on the notifications, because when, like I said, when I go live stream, is your opportunity to actually ask a guest something, or make a positive comment, not a constructive criticism comment, because I will delete it right there and then. But believe me, it's worth being a part of this. I do these podcasts not just because I'm being told it's good for therapy. That's my therapy. But I do it because I do my best to entertain you. But sometimes I can't do it all. That's where you, the viewers and listeners, will step up, or could step up. If there's a guest on the podcast, ask them a question. Make it worth it. Okay? Because I run out of questions very quickly. I really, really do. I run out of questions very, very quickly. And I try to keep it to a conversation form instead of a, like being on Face the Nation or Meet the Press, and get jammed with questions as an interview. I try to make everything a conversation platform. And like I said, if you come to the Life with Joey Calvo YouTube channel during a live stream and I have a guest on, like I said, ask questions. Get your concerns out. Now, concerns for me, I don't want to hear them. I don't want to hear concerns anymore. Because I'll tell you right now, I could give 2 pieces of shit about it. Okay? I know what is wrong with me. I know what I need to do. It may not sound the way people would want me to do it, but this is the choices I am making. So, all right. I got to get done. So thank you so much, folks, for watching the Life with Joey Calvo podcast on YouTube and listening to the Life with Joey Calvo podcast on Anchor.fm. I wish you all well, and hopefully we will be back on Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so that way you know when I come on live, so you can ask your questions of any guests that come on. God bless you all.